Eddie Edwards. Ladies and gentlemen, Impact Wrestling Review, Eddie Edwards. I was wondering where we were going to go with Eddie Edwards after we got through with Tommy Dreamer. I was thinking, what are they going to do? Are they going to go back to Sami Callihan? Will it be another feud? Well, we found out last night. Eddie Edwards is going for the world title, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm all for it. Like this Eddie Edwards character, once before, I said that they really need to let him go after a heel and the crowd would go bananas. And looking at the case last night, he was just coming off of the feud with Tommy Dreamer, and they taped that Impact, I want to say, the night after Slammiversary. So the crowd wasn't going to go bananas. They just seen Eddie Edwards beat up a hero, a face. So it's going to take some time before the crowd starts to go bananas for Eddie Edwards. But I really think feud Aries to the title, I think we're on our way. So Austin Aries actually opened up the show, put over Slammiversary. Now talk about the roster and talk about how match after match it lived up in that Aries Moose had a tough task to top it, and they did. And you know what? I gotta say that they did. They did a great job in that main event. He issued that open invitation. Eddie Edwards comes out, kendo stick in hand, lays him out, poses with the title, and ladies and gentlemen, we're on our way. Eddie Edwards, Austin Aries. I don't know if they're gonna pull a trigger right now on Eddie Edwards. I don't know when the match is gonna be. We'll see. Maybe it's a long build. They go months with this build. We'll see. I'm interested. They have me very interested to see how it all turns out. So moving on, we had Ishimori versus Petey Williams. Another hard-hitting, fast match and a perfect match to start the Impact after Slammiversary. So we had some cool spots here. Petey hit a flatliner, Ishimori hit a backhand spring kick, but the match would end as Petey went for the powerbomb, hit the powerbomb, Ishimori would counter, and then he would end the match with a bloody cross for the finish. And I gotta say, it was a very enjoyable match. Went under 9-10 minutes or so. But for the time it was given, they really went out there, excited the crowd, had a nice back and forth, a fast back and forth. It's what the X Division is all about. And after the match, they shook hands, but the Desi Hit Squad came down, laid them both out, wiped them out, beat them down, and this is a feud that I'm all for. We setting up things really well in the future. Got the Desi Hit Squad versus Ishimori, and Williams, one would assume, if Ishimori is sticking around for at least a week or two. I don't know how that's working out with New Japan and Impact Wrestling. Probably a working relationship. I'll always find a way to throw that in when I can. But we'll see how it all plays out going forward. Next up, we had Alicia interviewing Anthony Corelli. Talked about his students. Aries interrupted the process, challenged Corelli to a match. He said that his neck was injured so that he couldn't fight, and one of his students stupidly stepped in and said, "I'll fight him." And Corelli said he's glad his student paid for his training in advance. So I guess we'll see that go down next week with Aries and the student. I thought it was going to go down tonight, but we'll see how it all turns out next week. So next up, we had future Knockouts champion, the walking mean streak, Tessa Blanchard versus Rebel. There wasn't a whole lot going on in this match. I mean, Rebel got in some stuff, but it was basically a squash match. And at this point, yeah, they're going full throttle with Tessa Blanchard. You can just tell. And she is just dripping charisma, attitude, and darn good in the ring. She has it all. And from a promo standpoint, she has it all there too. So just future Knockouts champion. She just has to let things take their course. We got a lot going on with Su Yung, Allie, Rosemary is just yet to come back. So we need to get a face to win the title before we get to Tessa Blanchard as Knockouts champion. But as for this match, squash, I'm perfectly okay with it. Tessa Blanchard looks good. Rebel got in some things as well. Next up, we had Scarlett Bordeaux come out. She made her debut, and Alicia was interviewing her. I gotta say, this started off pretty rough. She said that she was the smoke show, said that she wanted to be a great activist. That one kind of threw me off. I was like, huh? And she said like Marilyn Monroe or even Cardi B. That was kind of funny. But then she brought it home really well. Talked about not being hot shamed, and she had the funny line that said, "Shut up, 5. A 10 is talking." She said that about Alicia. Alicia is not a 5, but to the point, there was a funny line, and she brought it home really well. I gotta say, I have mixed feelings about the character. I don't know where it's gonna go. I don't know how they're gonna use her, but I'm intrigued. Let's see how they turn it out. Let's see the storylines. Let's see how they play it out first. And let's give it a chance. And I'm going to give it a chance to see how it all turns out. Don Callis at the announce table cracks me up every week with something. And it was this segment where he just cracked me up. I need to get that microphone. I need to inspect it. Oh, man, he's great on commentary. Next up, we had Johnny Impact versus Trevor Lee. Now, this one was fairly decent. Got a lot of interference from Caleb Conley. The match would pick up as Johnny Impact hit the disaster kick. That led to a 2 count. And Lee actually hit a running double stump as well. That led to a 2 count. That all led to Johnny Impact wiping them both out on the outside with the tornado. Match ends with Starship Pain. And it was a decent match. Not a what I would call a great match, but it was a good match indeed on the show that kept you intrigued in watching the show. So after the match, and this was a development episode, we're setting up some things. When I say development, I mean we're setting up we're developing things for the future. Johnny Impact grabbed the mic, said he had some unfinished business with Congo Kong, and that he's gonna take him to Slam Town. So that feud, I guess they can get back into it, tie up some loose ends, have Johnny Impact win there, and we move on to something else. Impact mentioned his goal about winning the title, and there's another one that, it's going to be at some point. He just has to let the course play out with the World Championship. He's kind of like in a Tessa Blanchard position. He just has to let it play out, and he's going to get into the world title scene eventually. So moving on, we got some highlights from Su Yung, Madison Rayne from Slammiversary. After that, we had Alicia. She interviewed Alice, talked about how she was gonna come after Su Yung, and she was joined by Kiera, the only Hogan that I vibe with. She came backstage. She talked about how she had Alice back and that she would go after Su Yung with her. So we'll have that set up for next week. I'm not sure what's going to go down. Maybe it's a tag match. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's backstage video pre-packaged that Impact does greatly. We'll see how that all turns out next week. So that led us to the GWN replay. Really good match. Machine Guns versus the Young Bucks, but the GWN replay, I'm not trying to be bad against it. I'm not trying to be negative or criticize it. It's just the fact that when I'm enjoying Impact, and I always get to a moment where I'm like, okay, I'm in it. And when the GWN replay comes, it's like, oh, well, let me check my phone. Let me look at Twitter. And it's like I lose focus. It goes on for so long, goes for the whole match that I lose focus. And I have to build myself back up once the GWN replay is off to get back into the show. So for the future, I can't say this enough, I hope they just chop the GWN replay down a bit or off entirely would be great for me to keep the show rolling. But moving on, we had Joe Hendry backstage gave Grado a free shirt, then Eli Drake arrived with a special gift. And it was a picture of Hendry and Katarina, and that didn't make Grado feel really well. Obviously, we're on the way to the split with Katarina and Grado. I wish they would go on ahead and do it. We're kind of taking our time getting there, and everybody can kind of see it coming. It's one of those times where I like slow builds, long builds in wrestling, but I don't think this one needs it. I think we should just go on and get into the Grado Hendry feud. Somebody wins there, and we can move on from there. So next up, we had KM followed by. KM said that Ba needed to get his mean streak back, and not a whole lot to this segment. They walked around pushing people over, and that was about it. I'd be interested to see what goes on next. I really thought that KM was better used as a heel as opposed to being followed by. We'll see how it all plays out. I'll give it a chance. We'll see what happens next week. We also got a Killer Cross video package as well. They continue to do great things with this guy. It's where they make him look like a killer. They make him come across as a vigilant, legit star on the come up in Impact Wrestling. And I gotta say that I'm very interested to see where he goes after Slammiversary, who they're gonna pair him with. There's a lot of questions coming out of Slammiversary that I'm okay with, and I'm ready for him to be answered. But we're building to it slowly, and we'll see how it all plays out going forward. So I'm interested to see where they go with Killer Cross from here on in. So next up, we had King and the OGs talking backstage. King said he expected a whole lot more from Conan, said that they won the battle, but they didn't win the war, and said that the OGs were the world champions because they have the titles. I'm very interested in this feud. It's here to stay. I'm very interested in, okay, where's Diamante? Like, they didn't have her pick a side yet. They didn't have her show up. We'll see how that plays out. So, my opinion is that they should have a second match. OGs win. Third match, Bound for Glory. LAX wins. The Young Bucks win. They get the big push from it. So, moving on from there, we had OVE in the bathroom. Sami Callihan ticked off at himself about losing to Pentagon. But Jake and Dave come in, and Sami and they all take out a random guy in the bathroom. And I guess, it's a good way to build Sami back up. And I guess that, beating up a guy on camera and in the bathroom is just, it's just a segment, it's something to have. And I didn't have a problem with it whatsoever. We're building towards somewhere next week. This is obviously, like I said, a development episode heading into next week. So, decent segment. I didn't have a problem with it. Last up, we had the main event. Brian Cage, Matt Sydal for the X Division Championship. We had some interesting spots in this match. Brian Cage throwing Sydal into the ring post. That was just ridiculous. Slammed the guy into the ring post. Brian Cage is so strong to where it just looks like the slightest things he does is just powerful. Like just simply tossing somebody, it just looks powerful. Some crazy spots. Brian Cage hitting that running Rana. And I mean, I will never get used to a guy that big doing a Hurricane Rana or running Rana, whatever, what have you. He's just that big. You shouldn't be able to do that. It's unfair. It's kind of like LeBron James. If I may go to basketball, a guy that big shouldn't be able to run that fast. It's just like Brian Cage. A guy that big should not be that athletic and shouldn't be able to run that fast. But keeping forward on the match here, we had a 619 by Cage as well. Another move where I'm like, really? A guy that big should not be able to do that. Sydal still looked really good in this match, but it would end with the drill claw as Brian Cage picked up the win. This match was not as good as their Slammiversary encounter, but it was a really good TV main event, and it kept me interested the entire match, and it was a good way to close the show. So that was the end of the show. This Impact Wrestling episode overall, like I said, was a development episode to develop towards the future, develop different storylines. Next week, we have Austin Aries versus the student Dustin Cameron. We'll see how that all plays out. Ali and Kira, the only Hogan that I vibe with, will take on Su Yung and the Maids of Honor. We'll see how that plays out. We have the Lucha Brothers versus OVE and OGs. They will talk next week. We'll see how that all plays out. Will LAX show up next week? We shall see. As for this Impact, I liked it. We developed some things heading towards the future. We have ourselves a world title feud slated to go. Aries versus the lunatic Eddie Edwards, the crazy Eddie Edwards. I'm pulling so much for that guy. Eventually, they're going to have to put the world title on him. I don't know if it's going to be during this feud, but if he keeps doing what he's doing, they're just going to have to stick the world title on him and roll with him. We'll see how it all plays out next week and going forward. Let me know down below, what did you think about Impact? What do you think about the feuds being set up going forward? Anything you have down below, hit me up in the comments. YouTube, Twitter, DMs, anything, hit me up. Let me know.